Good afternoon and welcome to Quays News. I'm Hannah Froh.
And I'm Manfred Stokes. Here's what's coming up on today's programme.
Student loans and maintenance fees are set to increase for the first time in 8 years.
A big and busy night in American politics as the US nation selects their 47th president.
We look at how people are being encouraged to have their Christmas clear-outs before the festive period.
We want to make sure that everyone's got what they need for Christmas, and if people are going to have a clear-out, if they can think about giving it beforehand, that would be great. So then people who haven't got a lot can get what they need for Christmas.
I'm fighting for the expansion of Old Trafford. I will be here with all the sports headlines.
But first, the government has announced that there will be an increase in university tuition fees and maintenance loans in England.
The new rates will rise by 3.1% in line with inflation from April 2025, with maximum fees going up by £285. This is the first increase in 8 years.
But what does England's tuition fee rise mean for students living in Salford? Our reporter Rebecca Mills has this report.
University students are expected to see a slight increase in finances as the government announces a long-term plan in the coming months.
Fees are expected to increase to £9,535, whilst the maintenance loan increases to an extra £414. I spoke to university students to hear what they had to say about this change.
I know at the moment my maintenance loan doesn't even cover rent, so having that little bit of extra will hopefully make a difference, although whether or not rent will go up next year is another question entirely.
Literally everyone I know that's at uni is always complaining that they don't have enough money. Like, everyone's short on money for going out, just literally buying food, rent and stuff, especially now that I'm in second year. I know a lot of my friends that are in accommodation, like external from uni, paying quite a lot of money towards it, so I think that'll definitely help everyone.
This will be the first time the figure has increased in 8 years. However, not everyone is pleased, as Conservative Education Secretary Laura Trott stated. Students will suffer from the increased tuition fees when they can least afford it. Due to inflation and the cost of living crisis, students have felt the pinch with their spending. This anticipated shift is an attempt to support full-time students with their education, ensuring they receive the most out of their time at university. From 2025 to 2026, the new maximum tuition fee and maintenance loan will come to immediate effect. Rebecca Mills, Quays News.
Christmas is just 50 days away. Now, have you done your Christmas shopping yet?
A lot of people are turning to charity shops this year in an effort to keep costs down, but charity shops are urging people to donate as well as buy, with many struggling to get the stock in the lead up to Christmas. Our reporter Emma Beggan has more.
We want to make sure that everyone's got what they need for Christmas, and if people are going to have a clear out, if they can think about giving it beforehand, that would be great. So then people who haven't got a lot can get what they need for Christmas, instead of looking at the sort of the January time, February.
The polls have opened across the states as Americans vote for their next president.
Yes, 82 million Americans have already placed their vote.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump have each need at least 270 electoral votes to win.
But the outcome of the election could potentially have a big effect on the UK. We sent our reporter Leon Higgins to find out more.
With the US president election coming up tonight, I'm in Manchester city centre to see what the general public make of the election.
Do you have any opinions about the US election tonight at all?
Well, basically, whatever happens in America is going to affect us, and it depends on who wins, is how good or bad will be affected. For example, Mr. Trump, he wants to put tariffs on all imports and exports, which will cost Britain more money to export over there and to import things in. He seems to want to stop help to Ukraine, which we've been supporting. If that happens, then the Russians would just walk into Ukraine. So I'm a bit worried about that. Again, with the Kamala Harris, who seems to be on the left of the things, I'm worried about some of the policies she might have. You know, basically about women's rights, that type of thing. Women able to have abortions. So again, it doesn't affect me personally. Obviously, whatever happens will be affecting Britain.
Would you say that you care about the US election?
No, not really, because it's not something that I'm interested in, and it's not about me, so...
Not really. It's more of a different country's political graphic, so it doesn't really concern me that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't care, but I'm very interested.
Okay, who do you think is going to win? Trump or Harris?
I know Trump's not going to win because of the things he's been saying.
More on the election, we spoke to Maxwell Spivey, who was born in Texas, on his views on the general American election.
My name is Maxwell, moved here 2 years ago from Texas, snuck into the Salford Quays now, so cowboy around here.
First of all, have you made your postal vote?
Yeah, mailed in about 2 months ago. It's quite a rigorous task to get through all the loopholes, but you get through there at the end.
Yep, and as we're on UK soil, what do you think of the UK's involvement in this year's election?
Personally, I mean, it's a free country, do what you want, but I think it sways more voters away than it does bring in. I mean, you wouldn't want outside countries interacting in your election, even if they're not providing votes, they go on a campaign for a certain side. It's not something you want to see. So I think it sways more voters away from whoever they're trying to go campaign for.
Well, finally, who do you think will win and why?
I'm thinking most polls do have it towards Harris. Potentially, I feel like that's the way it's going to go in the battleground state. She's winning by a couple points on some polls. However, you can't ever be too sure. Come voting day, that's where you really find out.
Now, could new drivers face further restrictions based on their age?
Breakdown company AA has proposed that drivers under the age of 21 could have a new list of rules to follow once they pass. Our reporter Jessica Ray has more.
For those of us under the age of 21 who are hoping to pass our driving test soon, we could be slapped with further regulations on what we can and can't do once we've passed. The AA has suggested further regulations for new drivers, one of the main ones being that drivers under the age of 21 should not be allowed to drive with passengers of the same age the first 6 months after passing their test. Other regulations include that if you're a new driver in your car without a seatbelt, that you should receive 6 points, which would practically mean that you'd lose your licence, and that they should wear graduate badges on their cars to make them more easily identifiable on the road. The Department of Transport suggests that serious collisions, including drivers under the age of 21, has reduced by 60% since 2004. Whereas the number of serious collisions, including those over the age of 70, has increased by 12%. So the real question is, why do the AA want to put further restrictions on new drivers and not older?
I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to pass your test to show you can drive regardless of age. So I don't think it necessarily matters in terms of the age of the driver, more the competence, because you could get an incompetent 60-year-old driver as much as you could get a less experienced driver in the 20s. So for me, age shouldn't really come into it.
So if you pass your test, like Tom said, if you pass your test at 30, then possibly there should be a similar sort of period of time where you're not taking passengers and it's just you and you're getting used to actually driving on the road, because passing a test is one thing and actually learning to drive is something very different.
I think it's quite stupid, to be honest, especially when old people are still allowed to drive and they also cause a lot of accidents.
I think it's a tricky one, because I understand that there are studies that show that we are necessarily like the worst on the roads, but I do think it's harsh, because I was like, what if you were the only driver in your family and you needed to drive your mum somewhere? Like, it does seem really harsh. I think maybe for a month as you get used to driving by yourself, but I don't understand how they could even enforce it, if I'm honest.
It's been a busy week in the sporting world. Olivia, what can you tell us?
Let's start with Manchester City. Manager Pep Guardiola has said that he's expecting City to be fighting for titles at the end of the season, after they suffered 2 defeats in 4 days. Guardiola admitted "We could not handle Bournemouth's intensity," and said there was an uncomfortable balance in his team.
Know our standards. So, yes, we lost one game in the Premier League. Maybe we're going to lose against Brighton and against next Tottenham and Liverpool and all the games.
The Blues have been struggling for weeks after a long list of injuries, with Kyle Walker coming back to the pitch this weekend, but many players are still struggling for fitness despite travelling to Portugal this week. Is this the end of Old Trafford? Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe has delayed the decision on the future of Old Trafford. The club had been in favour of demolishing the iconic stadium to build a £2 billion stadium. The delay comes after the need to secure additional land around Old Trafford to deliver the vision that the Regeneration Task Force wants. Lots of the land on the side of the stadium is currently occupied by a rail freight terminal. This land would be needed for the club if they were to embark upon a 100-acre project. While the club would have to source its own funding for the work, they could benefit from public money for related transport and infrastructure costs. Manchester City women continue their unbeaten 10-match start after taking home a 3-0 win against Crystal Palace on Sunday. With goals from Jess Park, Bunny Shaw and Jill Rord, City remains at the top of the WSL table after 5 wins in their opening matches. City will be looking to keep their spot on the table in just 3 days against Tottenham Hotspur at the Etihad. Manchester United women have extended their unbeaten run after their draws against Arsenal on Sunday, thanks to Melvine Mallard's late equaliser. Despite a strong performance from Manchester United, Arsenal showed their experience with their first goal and strong game.
Fujino onto Park. Park tries one from range. Unbelievably hit. Wonderful goal from Jess Park.
Manchester United boss Mark Skinner said the team could be braver and needed to beat their press. Salford City took home a 2-1 win against Shrewsbury Town on Saturday, with Salford's Matty Lund scoring an early first goal. Shrewsbury battled their way back into the game, gaining the levelling point in the 15th minute. With both sides improving across the pitch, Salford hit the net to score the winning goal. With this win, Salford City advanced to the second round of the FA Cup and will face Cheltenham at home. And finally, Manchester men's basketball team lost 93-99 to London Lions on Sunday after a close battle. DJ Mitchell was the standout performer for Manchester after scoring 25 points, smacking 4 3-pointers in the game, with Moore showing his skills in a double-double, scoring 15 points and 13 rebounds.
Dunks of the year this season, I'll call that. Great pass from Del Pesh as
Manchester looked to be physical from the start as they applied pressure on London to turn over the ball in the first quarter, ending with Manchester taking the lead with 24-21. And after a strong game into overtime, Manchester were unable to take home the win and are now preparing for their next match on the 17th to take on Bristol Flyers.
Thanks, Liv.
Now, earlier we mentioned that charity shops are looking for donations and not just customers in the run-up to Christmas. Emma Beggan has more.
It's November and the run-up to Christmas is underway, but with the rising cost of living, a third of Brits said they're adjusting their Christmas shopping plans to shop at charity shops.
Fundraising charity Enthuse reported that 61% of people are most likely to donate items during the festive period, but it's now that charity shops need the stock. The British Heart Foundation reported that jumpers, toys, DVDs and books are most likely to be donated after Christmas, but these items also rank second as the most likely to be bought as presents from charity shops.
Amy Iffigan is a former school worker whose post about Christmas clear-outs went viral on community Facebook groups around the UK. Her experience at a local charity shop started her campaign to encourage parents to have a clear-out of their kids' toys now instead of after the festive period.
And when I came with the box of toys, she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're bringing it now, just because we've got no toys in and we always need them in the run up to Christmas."
Amy also wants people to be more aware of what they post on social media, particularly when it comes to Christmas presents.
You don't need to put a photograph of all of the things that you've bought for your child, because the reality is there is going to be somebody on your friends list or that follows you that is feeling immense pressure. And I think that the key thing is that we don't need to constantly show what we've got.
Data analysis Statista forecasts an average of £770 will be spent per person in the North West this Christmas. On toys specifically, an average of £39 will be spent, down from £50 in 2019. In 2023, 62% of parents said they were concerned about their ability to afford Christmas presents for their kids. Alan is the manager at the Children's Air Ambulance store in Salford. He encouraged people to get their donations in as soon as possible.
We want to make sure that everyone's got what they need for Christmas, and if people are going to have a clear out, if they can think about giving it beforehand, that would be great. So then people who haven't got a lot can get what they need for Christmas.
So if you've been procrastinating your Christmas clear out, take this as your sign to declutter your cupboard and jingle all the way to your local charity shop. Emma Beggan, Quays News, Salford.
Now, bonfire night is tonight. Amethyst, I haven't been to any firework displays recently, have you?
Yes, over the weekend I went to Llandudno. We watched the fireworks on Sunday. It was a very good display.
But that is all because budget cuts have resulted in less bonfire displays happening this year.
Our reporter Marion Tabor-Gomer went to find a bonfire event ready to lit.
I'm here at one of Manchester's only bonfire night events during Guy Fawkes' Day. This is due to inefficient funds and rising costs this year. As you can see behind me, we've got a big bonfire getting ready for tonight, and there'll be a lot of food and snacks for people to enjoy at this sold out event at Mersey Sports Club. Salford City Council says the event helps to keep people safe by reducing backyard bonfire and antisocial behaviour by providing a safe space to enjoy a fireworks event. It reduces crime and fire-related injuries. And with this sold-out event, we hope people have fun watching the bonfire night today.
Now, fingers crossed for some dry weather for those that are venturing out to firework displays this week. Here's Ali with the weather forecast.
Good afternoon. It's been a cloudy few days, hasn't it? Today, the northwest will see mostly cloudy skies with occasional drizzle in places. Expect mist and fog to develop, especially over higher ground. Daytime temperatures will be mild, reaching around 11 degrees Celsius in most areas. Light winds will add to the still and somewhat damp feel across the region. Whether you're out watching the fireworks or watching from the warmth of your home, here's what to expect in the evening. Cloud cover remains with sporadic light drizzle overnight. Lows will hover around 8 degrees with highs of 14 degrees, keeping conditions relatively mild for early November. Watch out for denser mist and fog patches by morning. Tomorrow is more of the same, with overcast skies dominant, with just maybe a few brighter spells in the afternoon. Temperatures will peak around 2 to 3 p.m, and light winds will continue and mist may linger in some areas throughout the morning. So it's mild enough to skip the extra jumper, but not quite warm enough to pack away your coat. The rest of the week in the northwest will remain settled but mostly cloudy. Dry conditions are expected overall. Though low cloud and fog may persist in spots in the early morning, there's a chance of brief sunny intervals as high pressures are keeping the weather calm. Although you may feel chilly, temperatures are slightly above seasonal averages. Staying mild at around 10 to 13 degrees through the weekend, it looks like there will be some rain on Saturday afternoon, clearing up by the evening and staying dry on Sunday. Expect a quiet but somewhat grey week ahead for the northwest with mild temperatures. Stay tuned for any changes in the pattern, but for now, it's a steady and dry weather ahead.
Thanks, Ellie, and that's all we have time for today.
Be sure to follow us on our socials at Quays News. Thank you and goodbye.